Can you book cheap flights to the Philippines using your points and miles? Well, how does business class for the price of economy sound? In this video, I'm going to show you how you can do just that. This is going to be your ultimate guide. I'm going to show you all of the best ways to use your credit card points and miles in order to book these cheap flights. I've spent countless hours working on this video, and this is a long time coming, so be sure to watch it all the way through at least once. However, I do have timestamps for you, so that way you can jump around to whatever parts you need to rewatch or see again. And my name is Michael with Nurse Michael Travels, by the way. I am on the sole mission of helping you learn how to travel for less using your credit card points and miles, because since I've entered this world, I've been able to take my wife and crossing off one by one our bucket list destinations, and so I'd like for you to do the same. And now if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you're in one of two positions. A, you've got a crap ton of points and you're trying to figure out how to use those wisely in order to get to the Philippines. Or option two, you don't have the points yet, but you're trying to figure out which transfer partners is best to focus on and reverse engineer what credit cards you should get. Either way, this video is going to help you out. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about with this points and miles transfer partner talk, you'll want to check out my first free vacation guide down in the description. That'll walk you through and get you acclimated to the world of points and miles and all the different terminology. And then also down in the description is my transfer partner guide, where it will show you which banks partner with which transfer partners. So that way you don't have to remember it all in your head. It's a resource I use on a regular day-to-day basis. Now, with all that being said, let's get out of the intro and into some essential information we need to know before we book our flights. First off, you'll want to know that there's two seasons: wet and dry. The dry and the peak season, according to sources, typically lasts between December and April, whereas the wet and off-peak season is typically between May and October. Now, I can't speak from personal experience about the accuracy of this time frame, so if you are Filipino or if you have had extensive history in the Philippines, please drop down in the comments what you recommend the best time frame to visit. And the main airport that we're going to be looking to fly into is Manila. MNL is the airport code, so you'll see that in all the searches we're about to do. But now let's finally get into flight options. So the first option I want to cover here is Philippine Airlines. It's one of the major airline carriers from the Philippines that fly directly non-stop to a lot of major United States airports. And now Philippine Airlines, they partner with various airlines. However, there's not really a credit card transfer partner that you're able to transfer your points to and book flights in that way that we are used to. So if you want to book these flights, what I would recommend is actually using the Chase Travel Portal. On the Chase Travel Portal, you'll get 1.25 or 1.5 cents per point, depending if you have the Sapphire Preferred or the Sapphire Reserve, respectively. Now, I would really only recommend this for an economy flight because, in my opinion, the business class flight would just require too many points compared to some of the other options we're going to talk about. And now, Philippine Airlines is, like I said, is one of the only options that offer nonstop flights. So if nonstop is really what you require, then this may be your best bet in economy. Just be aware of some of the caveats that come with booking through a travel portal, which I've highlighted in this video linked up above for you. If you were to go about this and you found this example flight of around $1,000 and you booked it through the travel portal using your Chase Sapphire Preferred, it would cost you about 80,000 points round trip. Or if you had the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it would cost you about 67,000 points round trip. But now let's get into bigger and better stuff with our first transfer partner. It's one that I like to keep in my back pocket when there's not really availability on other partners. It's kind of an old faithful to me, and it's none other than Singapore Airlines. They are a transfer partner of American Express, Capital One, Citi, and Chase, so it's a little bit easy to rack up miles. Now, business class does come at a high price tag at 107,000 miles from the West Coast and then 120,000 miles from the East Coast, so not super amazing, but they do come with cheap taxes and fees of just around $12 one way. And now just a quick word about taxes and fees. Whenever I give you a number here on the video, they do tend to change over time just depending on a lot of different factors. So just know that if I give you a cheap number, then that transfer partner is going to be cheaper than the other partners. So think of it more as a trend than a definitive number. And then the economy points price is going to be about 42 to 44,000 points. And we'll talk about economy prices here in a second as well. But the thing to know about Singapore Airlines and booking flights using their miles is that you can only book flights from the US airports that they operate from. And so this would include Newark, JFK, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle. And just note that for these redemptions, you are going to be connecting in Singapore, and then you'll make your way over to the Philippines and Manila. So now let me real quick show you how to find availability. So you'll start off on Singapore Airlines' website. And now you will need to create an account and log in order to search and redeem for these flights. flights. Once you're all settled, you just make sure you select this redeem option and then just type in the route that you're interested in. I'm gonna look from New York over to Manila, and I'm searching in February. Just make sure to trigger for business class and type in however many people you want. We can search for 2 people here. After you hit search, you will be taken to this page and it will tell you if there is any availability here. It'll give you 7 days of availability at a time with this nice little calendar, and if there is no Saver award space available, it'll say wait list right here, because there are 2 fares to book from. You've got the Saver space, which I mentioned was 111,500 miles or 112 to round up, and then you've got the Advantage Awards, which is 144,000 miles rounding up. Now, of course, the Saver has the perk of being the less expensive one. The Advantage Rewards, they do have the perk that you can book a stopover in Singapore for free. So you can get a free stopover if you book via an Advantage Award or if you have a round trip Saver Award. The problem is that would be a lot of miles for 2 Saver Awards for this specific routing. Now, they don't have an award calendar that you can use, but if you use these arrows, you can search multiple weeks at a time, which is nice because Singapore Airlines does not show up on Points Yet or Seats.Aero. You do have to search on the airline directly. And then just to be transparent with you, Singapore Airlines is not some gold mine full of award availability. This is a routing from San Francisco around the same dates, and there's not really any availability around this time, even for one adult. So I'm not trying to sell you instant success here. You do need to be flexible with your dates or routings or departure airport for the most chances of success. So now let's have a word about economy flights, because there's kind of an issue that we're running into here. I told you that the cheapest economy flight round trip is going to be 84,000 miles from the West Coast using Singapore Airlines. Now, I wanted to show you my award redemption analyzer. It's part of an award travel savings bundle that I do have for sale if you're interested in it. So this is a Singapore Airlines round trip economy flight. If you look on Google Flights for a round trip economy flight for these same dates that I just showed you, it would be $814. And I showed you it was 84,000 points with $46. You plug this in, it will tell you that your cent per point valuation is 0.91 cents. And so that's not a great value. Then I even compared it to the cheapest partner that will cover that has the lowest priced economy flights round trip. It's 75,000 points with relatively low taxes and fees. And this was a round trip fare for this particular routing through Chicago. And even that gave you a 1.02 cents per point. And so like I mentioned before, if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you get a baseline 1.25 cents whenever you redeem through there. So you're better off booking through the travel portal for a lot of these flights, so long as the price is relatively cheap for that round trip flight. And so I want to share this with you because there's not really a lot of good options to book cheap economy flights that are a good value with your points and miles, unfortunately. So that's why in this video I'm going to be focusing on business class award flights, because that's where you'll really get the maximum value for your point. If you still choose to pursue a way to maybe book an economy or premium economy flight using your points and miles, I would just really encourage you that you do the math to figure out the cent per point valuation to make sure you're getting at a minimum 1 cent per point on your points, but really above 1.25 or higher is ideal. Or you could just calculate it yourself by taking the cash price minus the taxes and fees that you pay divided by the number of points that you're paying. That'll give you a decimal number, which you could just put a dollar sign in front of it, and that's the cent per point that you're getting. But if you hate math, I do have a calculator here to make it easier. You just plug it in and it'll do it all for you. Now, our next transfer partner is United Airlines, and they are a transfer partner of Chase Points and Bilt Rewards. Now, the special thing about United is that they do offer a non-stop flight to the Philippines on a single route from San Francisco to Manila. And now, this flight is actually very difficult to find award availability on. If you do find it, it'll be 100,000 points in business and 43,000 points in economy. But with this route, I've only been able to find availability at super last minute flights, such as 3 days or 7 days within flying. And because of dynamic pricing, that flight can also be priced at 170,000 miles instead. Now, United is also part of the Star Alliance. And so that means in addition to United flights, you can also book business class flights with all of these other partner airlines, such as Asian carriers like EVA Airlines and even Singapore Airlines. So Saver award prices on these business class flights will cost you around 100 and 110,000 points at the lowest, but like I said, dynamic pricing can really throw a wrench in things. And because United Airlines is so well connected to the United States, and you have all these other partner Asian carriers that you can connect with, there are a lot of different options in terms of departure airports and where to begin your search. So here's how I would go about looking for award availability. The simplest way of looking for award availability on United is on their website. And now you can log in and you may be able to see a little bit more award availability depending on if you have status or a credit card with United. I'm going to show you how to do it real quick. So you simply type in the routing that you're looking for. Some key points to make here, I always search one way, and then make sure you click book with miles and flexible dates. Make sure that's checked. I'm going to go ahead and just search that route between San Francisco and Manila, but you can also type in whatever departure airport you want. You can try your smaller local airport, or you can typically start with a bigger city and then check your smaller airport after you find availability on that bigger route. Simply type in what month you're going to look for, because the nice thing about United is they do let you search on a monthly calendar. I'm just going to start at the latest possible date and then make sure you select business class. Once it's done loading, it'll give you this nice calendar here, and you'll be able to see the lowest prices from here. There's this 110,000 price point here and here. As we scroll down, you don't see it right away, but you can select this arrow and it will filter it from lowest to highest for you. And so this routing is not the direct route that I mentioned earlier. It's from San Francisco over to Seoul and then Manila. And then actually, if you look closely, it does say mixed cabin. So that means one of these legs is actually going to be an economy. So that's something to be aware of there. It looks like luckily this leg, the shortest one, is an economy, so I might be okay with that if that's my only choice. Now I want to make a note that this is the last month available to me searching in October. I'm able to search as late as the end of September here. So this is still in wet season. This is a good strategy in order to find a business class flight, is to search for the latest possible date or as far in advance as possible in order to find some business class flights. And on the other hand, if I scroll all the way up to the current timeline, this date 6 days from now actually has that 100,000 price point, which is that direct flight from San Francisco over to Manila for 100,000 miles. So super far in advance or super last minute, that's where you could typically find your business class flights with some other availability sprinkled in between. And then I mentioned United is so connected to the United States. I even tried looking for availability from Austin over to Manila, and you can still find business class pricing at 110,000 points. However, if you look at the routing, it is with 2 layovers, so that's a price to pay if you're going to be flying from a smaller airport, but it's kind of similar as if you're taking a positioning flight, just all included in one routing. So don't be afraid to check for a smaller airport if you're okay with some complicated routing. But if you didn't want to go through United's website and keep on clicking the buttons to scroll through, Seats.Aero is a nice tool in order to find all the availability kind of all up front. Now for what I'm about to show you, the pro subscription is a lot better because on the free version you only get 60 days of award availability, whereas if you have the pro subscription you'll get a full year's worth. And so here's how you do it. And then you select United Mileage Plus program here. Once you get to that page, you want to program it for this to be North America and then to Asia as the continents you're searching for. And then also make sure you change the availability from 60 days to a full year with the pro subscription. And now you can go to this arrival airport and type in MNL for Manila, or you can just type it in within the search bar here and it will do the same exact function. And so Seats.Aero, the issue with it is that it only tracks the route that it tracks. It doesn't track the smaller routes like the one from Austin that I showed you earlier, and it's not going to pick up on all the availability with those random connecting flights. So what it will show you is the direct route from San Francisco to Manila. It seems like that's the really only route that they track to the Philippines, it seems like. So it does show you that 100,000 point availability I showed you earlier and a connecting flight option for 110,000 miles. In order to find more information about it, select this I and then click over to business and you can see the details here. So it's a direct flight, and if you select this button here, book via United, it'll take you to the website to continue the process from there. So that's a simple way. If you don't have the tool, I would consider playing around with it more, watch some more of my videos to see if it's worth the investment for you. And then United is also searchable on Poinsettia.com. I'll show you how to look for it on this website. However, I'm gonna save a big example with Poinsettia at the end, so you can skip to it in the timestamps below, but I'll get to it. Now, before you go spending all of your United miles on that nonstop flight, let me first remind you of this Star Alliance concept. This is a list of all the Star Alliance members, and United's on here, but there's also Air Canada. And Air Canada is actually our next transfer partner, because you could book a lot of the same flights that you find on United, and then some of the other airlines that Air Canada partners pretty well with and easily in terms of what you could book flights is Asiana Airlines, AV Air, Turkish Air, even Ethiopian Airways alongside ANA and Singapore. So a lot of options that Air Canada offers. The nice thing about Air Canada is that they follow more of an award chart instead of the dynamic pricing that United offers. And so they do have standardized pricing for partner airlines specifically. So these repeat people like United Airlines and all the ones I just mentioned. Now, if the destination is in the Pacific zone, which the Philippines of course is, you'll follow this distance-based award chart. So for business class, if it's between 5,000 and 7,500 miles, it'll cost 75,000 points. And then as you add distance, whether it be from your departure airport or with layovers, you'll fit within 87,500 points or 115,000 points if it goes over the Atlantic Ocean instead, or just all the way from the East Coast with the long layover, etc. And so to find award availability, you can go to aircanada.com. You do need to log in order to see all the award availability for a full 7 days. Otherwise, just insert the information that you're looking for. I'm going to show you that same flight that we saw on United, San Francisco to Manila. Make sure to select book with points, put in your travel date, and hit search. And then here's that 5 days of award availability it'll show you at one time. You can filter it so it'll show you the business class price up top instead of the economy. And then as we can see here, that same San Francisco to Manila flight is 75,000 points and 78 Canadian dollars for business class instead of the 100,000 points that we were about to pay with United. So this is particularly useful because if you don't have Chase or Bilt Rewards or United points, everyone except Citi and Wells Fargo are transfer partners of Air Canada, so you have a lot more options in terms of how you can get these points. Now, I will say not every saver, award space, or cheap price that you find on United's website is going to be available on Air Canada. For example, this is the same flight from Austin. Now, there wasn't anything on September 2nd, which we found last time. It said there was something on September 3rd, but it's a mixed cabin booking and it's just 8%. So that means just the very last leg is going to be in business class instead of the long flight over the Pacific Ocean being in business class, which is what we really want. So that's kind of a ripoff. Now, Air Canada is also searchable on Seats.Aero. You can find it the same way. Just select Air Canada from the menu of the Explore option and then put the same settings, Asia, full year. You could type in MNL and it will show you that nonstop flight on United here. And it has some 115,000 point options. These go through Istanbul with Turkish Airlines specifically. And again, it's limited to the airports and routes that they search for this specific destination. If you delete the airport code in the search bar, you can see that there is a lot of flights to different Asia airports. So Taipei, Seoul, Singapore, from all these different departure airports as well. One strategy is just to book this long haul flight on Air Canada miles and then book a cheaper flight from Seoul to Manila, for example. You can just pay that with cash or a different award flight if you choose. Another option would be to actually search for some of these flights first on Air Canada, for example, Houston to Taipei. Putting that into Air Canada, that flight from Houston to Taipei is available in business class, 87,000 points and 500. Now that we know that that space exists, we can check to see if maybe it'll allow us to connect there and go to Manila from there. So I'll just type in Manila as the destination airport, and it worked. You got two options actually pick from with two different timing of layovers if you want a super long one or a shorter one. So I'll be the first to admit that this does not work all the time. It's just a strategy you can use as a modified hunt and peck. Find something that you know works and see if you can add on a leg. But just like that Austin example, as we see, it doesn't always work. So Air Canada is one of the best transfer partners to use in order to book flights using Star Alliance members. It is also searchable on Points.yeah. Again, we'll get to this here soon, but there is one more Star Alliance member that might actually have a better pricing if you could get it to work. Now, our last Star Alliance transfer partner is ANA. To cut to the chase, they're only a transfer partner of American Express points, and it requires 130,000 points to book a business class flight round trip. So I'd recommend this if you have a lot of American Express points and quite a bit of patience, because there's a lot of rules to get through. One is that you have to book the flight round trip. You can do a mixed class booking, as in you can book business class on the way there and economy on the way back in order to save some points, but it has to be booked round trip all at once. Additionally, whenever you transfer your points from American Express, it could take 2 to 3 days before it actually hits your ANA account. And that can be pretty scary, as you're concerned that the award availability is going to go away while your points transfer. Also, you're able to book award flights for yourself, your spouse, and your immediate family members, including your kids, siblings, etc., but you cannot book award flights for your friends. So if that's something that you were planning to do, you can't do that with ANA. And so ANA is a Star Alliance member, so a lot of these award flights that we talked about with all these other partners so far, if you find business class flights on those partners round trip, it might be worth checking on ANA if you have enough points. Let me show you how to book this flight or find award availability on their website. This partner is not the most user-friendly in terms of websites, so first off, you'll need to go to ana.co.jp/en/us/. That'll bring you to this page, and you'll need to create an account and log in. And then so once you're logged in, you'll get to this page here. You'll want to select flight awards and then select award reservation here. And so then it'll take you to this page. And like I said, it'll force you to book a round trip booking, and you could do so traditionally, as in flying to one airport and then flying back, or you have the option to do an open jaw reservation for free with ANA. Open jaw, for the best example, would be with Japan. You could fly from San Francisco to Narita Airport in Tokyo, and then on the way back you could fly from Osaka back to Los Angeles, all within the same award reservation. So that's a good option. It might be difficult to pull that off for Philippines specifically. And then your other option would be to multiple cities or mixed classes. This will pull up this different window. I like to use this function because it'll tell you if you have economy or business class options versus only business class. The benefit to using this open jaw or round trip option would be this plus or minus 3 days options. The way I would generally go about this, I would find award flight availability first on one of the other partners and then come to ANA and see if it's available on here as well. So these are some dates I found using the Seats.Aero and Air Canada method I just mentioned earlier. And so you just type it in as is. Again, change the destination airport on either one of these and it would still work just fine. And then you'll just hit search. And so this is what it will look like. It'll show you the economy options, premium economy, and business class. It does have a waitlist option if it's not immediately available. I personally would not count on joining the waitlist and hoping that it opens up and lets you book it. So I would simply just only rely on seats available options. So there is a business class option here. You could drop down menu to see the details as needed. And just make sure to scroll down because there's typically a lot of options, and sometimes it'll say waitlisted or not available up here, but there will actually be an option way down here. So then you can hit next. And same thing, it looks like there is a business class option here, just like we saw. And then I hit next again. And so it'll give you some notices, but if you click confirm, you can see the pricing to 130,000 miles, round trip business class, and this amount of Japanese yen. A quick Google search tells me that it's around $375 in taxes and fees. So not too bad given it's a round trip business class. You may see some variation depending on which airline you actually fly on. There could be some fluctuation in the actual surcharges that they charge you. So that's how you confirm award availability. Again, I always confirm availability and then I transfer my points, and we just gotta hope that this is still available 2 or 3 days later. And then if you were curious, it does charge you less if you do a mixed class booking for business and then economy one way. It's 95,000 miles. And so considering that we were going to pay 115,000 miles or so for a business class flight one way with Singapore Airlines, this is a great deal for a round trip booking with business class one way and an economy flight back. Again, just a lot of considerations and hurdles you got to jump through, but this is a great deal, kind of no matter how you slice it. And a final note, this is the pricing for partner airlines like EVA Airlines, which is what we've been finding availability on. You'll have slightly different pricing with ANA, so just make sure to price that out and check that whenever you're looking for availability on your own. Alright guys, I lied. I've actually got one last Star Alliance member just because it's a little bit niche and they have a little bit different award availability. So it's going to be Avianca Airlines here. Now Avianca Lifemiles is a transfer partner of everyone except Chase Bank according to my transfer partner guide. And to search for award availability on Lifemiles is actually very easy. You go to lifemiles.com, not avianca.com, but lifemiles.com. And then you log in and then you select this travel menu up here. It'll take you to this page. Again, just kind of type in whatever you're looking for. Again, San Francisco to Manila. Change this over to business class. And the nice thing about it is they also have an award calendar that works decently well. They have these blue little lines whenever there is award availability. Now we see that same one on the 31st that we have been seeing, but I went ahead and looked through the calendar and I saw this guy on September 25th. There's a blue line here. And now I know September is still within the wet season, but again, hopefully this will translate. Whenever it's December, January, February of this coming year, you'll see some availability as it gets released. So let's take a look at this guy. After you hit this arrow to search, it'll take you to your results page, and then you scroll down and then you can see your options. It'll typically be collapsed like this, and it will give you the lowest amount. You can just expand it by clicking this arrow. And so here we go. Looks like we've got some ANA award availability. And so it'll give you both economy and business class options, even though we just selected business. And the nice thing about Avianca is that you could do mixed class bookings as well. So you could do business and then economy to save miles. This will cost you just 79,000 points and $39 in taxes and fees. Or you could do business class, and so one-way business class will cost 90,000 miles and $39. Now I know that's not better than Air Canada typically, which is what we saw earlier. It generally probably would have costed around 87,000 miles or 75,000 miles at the lowest. But I checked Air Canada and it's actually not an option on here. They don't have any good options for this particular date from San Francisco. So it may be worth checking Lifemiles to see if there's any availability on there that's not on Air Canada or another Star Alliance members. Now I also wanted to bring up this partner because Lifemiles often run sales on their points. Now I am not the type of person to purchase points, but it is an option and it can be a good idea if you're trying to pay cash for a business class flight. For example, if you're going to book round-trip business class flights through Avianca, it would cost you $2,310 for 182,000 points. Now, Google Flights won't let me search that far into the future, but round-trip business class flights cost generally around the range of $4,000 to San Francisco, and more so if you're flying further. And then if we go to this calculator, I have the points purchase evaluator that's included in the award travel savings bundle I mentioned earlier with the award redemption analyzer. There is a nice quick calculator to figure out if it's worth it to buy points. So if we say it's cost $4,000 to book a round trip flight to Manila, and then the points price would be 180,000 points if it's fully business class, and the taxes for a round trip booking would be around the $100 range. So just type in this information. We said we were going to buy 182,000 points for $2,310. So this calculator takes into account the taxes that you would pay on this award flight, and it gives you the cents per point of the redemption itself and the cents per point that you would actually pay. So as you can see, there is a good amount of difference here. And so you would actually save $2,000 on your business class flight by purchasing points instead of paying for it on Google Flights. But of course, you have the additional hurdle of finding award availability for round trip business class flights. But if you can, this is an option. All right there. I wanted to change the scenery as we leave the Star Alliance slump and we move on to the One World Alliance. But first, thank you so much for watching this video so far. If it's been helpful for you, be sure to give it a like. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I've got a full YouTube library dedicated to getting you to wherever you want to go using your credit card points and miles. So now we're going to move on to the One World Alliance. So Star Alliance is the biggest one, don't worry, but we still got some partners to go through because like I said, this is your complete guide. I'm going to show you just about every way to get to the Philippines using your points. Now the first One World transfer partner is going to be Qatar Airways. Now Qatar Airways will take you over the Atlantic Ocean instead of the Pacific, so it'll be a longer route. However, Qatar Q Suites, their business class product, is well renowned to be one of the best in the world. And now this flight will cost you 100,000 points and around $300 in taxes and fees. Now the thing is, there are commonly transfer bonuses from credit card issuers over to the Avios currency, typically as high as 30%. And so this will bring that 100,000 point cost down to just 77,000 points if you can catch the sign up bonus. Now technically Citi and American Express are the only credit card issuers that transfer over to Qatar Airways. However, every credit card issuer transfers to some type of Avios currency. So Qatar Airways uses Avios, but so does British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, Finnair, etc. So those other credit card issuers, they typically transfer over to British Airways. Whenever your points hit your British Airways account, you can then transfer over to Qatar Airways. I show you step by step how to do this process in a different video I have linked up above for you, so be sure to check that out whenever you're ready. Now let me show you how to find award space on Qatar Airways. So to search for award availability with Qatar Airways, it would be useful to know which US airports fly directly to Doha. We can use this tool flightconnections.com to figure just that out. So type in Doha as the airport, and then you can filter for Qatar Airways, and then these are going to be the airports that you could search from the United States. And so theoretically, you could take any of these airports, let's say DFW or Dallas Fort Worth. You can go QatarAirways.com, log in or create an account and log in, and then you could just simply select one way, book an award flight. You could type in DFW to Manila for the Philippines. You could select business class. However, if you forget and you only do economy, then it will still show you the business class price. Select whichever date you're interested in and then hit search. Now, I will admit that I actually don't like Qatar Airways' website. I think it's slow and it frustrates me to search for award space on their website. Once you get the results, it'll show up like this, and there's no business class award availability. Now, it does give you this 7-day calendar, but it only shows you the economy prices, even if you were to select business class on there. And there's an option to see more dates, but again, it only shows you economy. So there's not a very easy way to search on Qatar Q Suites because every button you press makes it load for a couple seconds. So what I could recommend, and what you probably guessed, would be to use Seats.Aero. Again, this would be a pro feature that you would need, about $10 a month. It's worth it just to get it for the single month and then cancel as needed if you're actually looking for award flights and you're ready to book. So they have under the tools menu on the top, select from the drop down Qatar Q Suites Finder. This is a very nifty tool that is a game changer. Make sure to select Pro for show full year availability, and I'm going to go ahead and start showing you how to get back from Manila to the United States, because a common question or argument is like, why are you only showing departure flights? Why not the arrival? Because you essentially just do the same thing, but for reverse routing. So in this case, if you're going to look for flights from Manila over to America, you're going to search from Asia to North America. Now, as we said, Seats.Aero, they don't search connecting flights typically. It's really just going to be the direct segment. So we're going to have to break this up into 2 connections. And I'm going to warn you, this might get a little confusing because calendar math is hard. So from Asia to North America, we're going to search from Doha, and you can see Doha as the origin airport here, and it will have all of the different United States airports that there's award availability with. And so if you'll notice the source here, Seats.Aero doesn't actually check Qatar Airways' website for award availability. It's finding award availability on their partner airlines that you're able to book. And so by extension, if you can find Saver award space on a partner airline, more than likely Qatar is also going to offer that at their Saver award rate as well. So that's what makes this tool really great. And so from here, you can type in whatever date you're looking for. Just type it in the same format as here. So let's say you're trying to look for a flight in February. And because we're in October, there's really not a lot of availability at this point. And so it'll tell you the different dates. Notice that there are duplicates because it's showing the same availability on 2 different partners here. So it's really only 3 dates that it's showing. And 2 of them are from Atlanta, 1 from Montreal. And so this is just a long haul segment from Doha to Atlanta. If you wanted the full thing within 1 ticket from Manila to America, you would then program this to be from Asia to Asia and the continents that it's searching, and then the full year of availability as well. And if you type in MNL and DOH for the airports here, it'll show all of that award availability. But do note, it'll show it both from Doha to Manila and Manila to Doha. And so we're going to try to piecemeal it and match it to the previous screen. So 2025, February. As we can see, there's a lot more availability, nearly daily flights between the 2 cities. So if we go back to the long haul route, we can see there's dates on the 3rd, the 18th, and the 26th. So we can search these one by one on this website. So as we can see on the 13th, there is definitely availability from Manila to Doha, which would be the first segment because we're going Manila, Doha, America. And so there is definitely routes from Manila to Doha, which is a good sign. Now, I also like to know if the day before it has any award availability, because sometimes you'll get those 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night flights, and then the second segment will bleed into the next day. So, and it looks like even for this one, there is Manila to Doha on the 12th as well. So if we plug in this routing for February 12th, and we'll also check the 13th, from Manila to Doha, and then Doha to Atlanta. So if you type that into the homepage, the 12th is where it shows up the award availability, because the flight, like I said, was at 11:50 p.m. and then the layover was the following day. And so that flight would be 100,000 points, and you'll have Qatar Q Suites. And if you select flight details here, it'll tell you that you'll be flying on Qatar Q Suites on that Doha to Atlanta route. And then just to show you, this is February 13th and there's no business class award availability. And so I'm going to let you know that it might not be this simple straight up, because sometimes the award availability just isn't there when you expect it to be, even if you do everything step by step. But this will help keep the guesswork out of it and make it a lot less frustrating, since Qatar's website is slow. But it's very nice that these tools exist, because it is crazy that you're able to find availability in February and March in business class, just a few months away. Next up is Alaska Airlines. Now, right now is a special time because Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines are currently going through a merger, and American Express and Hawaiian Airlines are transfer partners. So at this very moment of time, you're able to transfer your American Express points over to Hawaiian, and then move your Hawaiian points over to Alaska Airlines to book this sweet spot over to the Philippines. flight. But just a heads up, whenever you transfer your American Express points over to Hawaiian Airlines or any domestic airline, you will have to pay a tax. It's reasonable, but it's a price you still gotta pay. Now, aside from American Express points, there's no other transfer partners over to Alaska, but there are Alaska Airlines credit cards. There's currently a Hawaiian Airlines credit card to get more points as well, but that Hawaiian Airlines credit card is assumingly going to be phased out. Now, with Alaska Airlines, the main airlines that you'll be flying to the Philippines is going to be with Cathay Pacific, Japan Airlines, and their partner Korean Airlines. Korean Air is not in the World Alliance like the other two, but they are partners and you can find availability with Korean on Alaska. Business class prices will generally cost you 85,000 points with low taxes and fees of $30 to $40 one way. So to search for award availability, just simply go to alaskaairlines.com. That'll take you to their website. Now you could just type in Manila to Seattle, for example, or you could go to all search options. That'll take you to this extra landing page here where you'll have this flexible dates option. And so simply type in what we just said, make sure to do one way, and use miles, and find flights. By selecting that flexible dates option, we have now an award calendar that we can search through. And so you have these buttons on the left here, just make sure to select business class. Sometimes it's hollowed out or you're not able to select it. That just means there's no business class flights within this month. So go to a different month and see if it does become available to select. And so as we can see, there is a lot of high price business class flights here. So we can search through a different month here to find a award saver spot. So it is worth noting Alaska is not a gold mine of any business class award flights by any means, but there is an award seat in January it looks like, and this one is going to be for 75,000 miles. I'd mentioned it was 87,500 miles earlier, but that was for anything not on the West Coast. If it's on the West Coast, it's actually going to be 75,000 miles. As we can see, this is a business class flight for 75,000 miles and $53 one way. And just to show you, this is a flight to New York and that is 85,000 miles. So there you go. And so that's how you find availability on Alaska Airlines. You simply just go airport by airport, 1 month at a time. Now, Alaska Airlines, they are on Seats.Aero. However, because Seats.Aero does not pick up on connecting flights a lot of times, they don't track any routes from Alaska Airlines over to the Philippines or back. So they're really not useful in this case. However, Alaska Airlines does get picked up by Poinsettia, which again we'll talk about towards the end of the video. Now next up is American Airlines. They're going to mimic Alaska Airlines in a lot of ways. However, American Airlines aren't a transfer partner to any credit card issuer. Instead, you'll have to earn those miles from their own credit cards and earn sign-up bonuses that way. Or I have a video showing you all the other kinds of ways of earning American Airlines miles linked up above for you. But they have great pricing at just 70,000 miles and low taxes and fees, just like Alaska Airlines. They're searchable on Seats.Aero. However, just like Alaska Airlines, that's not very helpful because it's a lot of connecting flights. Let me show you how to find availability on American Airlines' website. So we can start off on American Airlines' website, aa.com, and once you log in, you'll be taken to this book menu. Just make sure you hit redeem with miles, put in whatever itinerary information, and we could just search for a random date here. And then you hit search. It'll take you to your results page, and then you can just filter it down to make sure you're not missing anything, because sometimes it'll say there's nothing available, but the business class award flight's actually down there. So always sort for business class. And we actually got lucky here. So you can see there's a flight from Manila to Japan, then from Japan to, I honestly don't know what this airport is off the top of my head, and then from Osaka to Los Angeles. So you're kind of flying some crazy routing here. So that's something to be aware of with American Airlines. They'll sometimes put you on some crazy connections. So there is a calendar button that you can press on the right side here, and it will bring you to the award calendar if you want to look for other options. And then from here, you can just select business class. So it will sort for business class. And now if you wanted to, you could sort if you just wanted 2 stops or 1 stops or fewer. But with American Airlines, they're not going to have maximum amount of award availability. Most of the time it is going to be at least 2 stops. So to see everything and then filter it down would probably be the best thing. So there's a couple dates here in January that we could take a look at. Now this one has you stopping in Tokyo, going to 2 different airports. But for the sake of this video, let's say you did want to go ahead with this option. There's a nice little tip I want to show you. So just go ahead and click through the pricing and click through the trip summary here. So you always want to click all the way through, because sometimes you'll get this error box saying choose a different flight because something's no longer available. And so that's always something important to do before making a reservation, or if you have the opportunity to buy points or transfer points if there's some crazy promotion. Always click through to make sure that that award availability is real. But once you do find a flight and you're able to push all the way through the seat selection, through the personal information and passport information, once you get to the review and pay page, scroll down and you'll see that there's this option to hold for 5 days. And so this could be really useful if you need to put it on hold for one reason or another. For instance, if you need to check with your spouse before booking it, or if there is some type of promotional transfer option, this could be really useful for a number of reasons. And there is also the option, let's say you're not in Los Angeles as your final destination, you're going to have to take a positioning flight from LA to Austin or whatever. If you put that on hold, sometimes you're able to call American Airlines, and if you can find an award flight from LA to your final destination, they may be able to tack that on. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to do this with already this many connections, but it's something worth calling and checking to do. So if you're going to do something like that, I would put it on hold and then call while the award reservation's on hold, instead of paying for the flight first and then calling after the fact. And while on the topic, sometimes it's worth just checking your home airport to begin with. Like this is from Manila to Austin, and there's actually business class award availability in January, just making this search outright without having to make any phone calls. So American Airlines is one of the best if you do have to reposition to a bunch of different airports. Sometimes you're able to get that all within one ticket. So that's how you find award space on their website. I love American Airlines miles. I think they're very useful for this reason. It's one of the cheapest business class prices out there. However, availability could be a little bit spotty whenever you're flying to some Asian countries like this. Now, the last one world partner is going to mimic Singapore Airlines because they're often neglected due to them having a little bit higher prices, but sometimes they can have availability when no one else does. I'm talking about Cathay Pacific. They're a transfer partner of American Express, Citi, Bilt, and Capital One. And their business class flights are going to cost you around 110,000 miles with $170 roughly in taxes and fees. Now with Cathay Pacific, you'll have a layover in Hong Kong before moving over to the Philippines, and you'll have to search for availability on their website. Let me show you how. So to look for award space, you're going to go to cathaypacific.com, create an account, log in, etc. You'll go to this book a trip tab, and then make sure you select redeem flights. From here, you can select the itinerary, put in Manila to San Francisco, for example, put whatever date you're looking for, and then business class. Make sure you select that from the drop down menu here and then hit done. Now for award availability, you're going to have your best luck looking far in advance as the award space gets released, such as in October in this instance. And then we'll go ahead and search. And then after searching, the results will pop up like this here, and you can scroll down and see what's available. So it'll tell you only a few seats left. Whenever there's nothing, it'll still look like 110,000 points, but then it will be grayed out saying like, oh, it's not available to book. But anyways, so this is the 110,000 points that you'll see flying on Cathay Pacific. 110,000 miles, it shows it Hong Kong dollars. Again, that's $170, $180. Now, something I failed to mention, if we look at another date, Cathay Pacific does have award availability on other one world providers, such as with Japan Airlines. And it is actually at a cheaper price of just 89,000 miles instead. And Japan Airlines business class is a very coveted, high quality business class, so this is a great deal as well. So like I said, Cathay Pacific is often forgotten, but if you can't find anything, check here, because Seats.Aero does not pick up on Cathay Pacific, and neither does Points Yeah. Okay, our last transfer partner and the only Sky Team member. Now, before the big reveal, I just want to say again, thank you for watching, and be sure to stick around because after this partner, I'm going to show you how I would actually go about searching for award availability with all these partners kind of all at once, or what system I would use. So be sure to stick around for that. But the last partner we've got to talk about is actually going to be Flying Blue. Flying Blue is the award program of Air France and KLM Airlines. They have saver award space, but they also have a dynamic pricing component. The cheapest price I can find with their program is going to be about 95,000 points one way, and taxes and fees are pretty high, around $400. The good news is they're a transfer partner of everyone, and there are regular transfer bonuses around 20-25%, rarely 30%. So with a 20% transfer bonus that's going on right now, that'll bring that price down to 80,000 points one way. And then depending if you're flying on Air France or on KLM, you'll have a layover in Paris or Amsterdam respectively. Now, these airlines do fly from specific airports from the United States. However, whenever I was looking for availability all the way to Manila, I could only find award space from one city, and that was Chicago. Now, I don't know know if this is just a one-off thing, or maybe if it's a recurrent issue, or maybe it's going to be just random cities will have this award space. So be sure to keep an eye out and check all of the airports. Let me go ahead and show you how to find this award space. For Air France and KLM, I mentioned that there are specific airports that they fly from. You can find those by going to flightconnections.com, typing in Amsterdam and filtering for KLM, and they're repeating the process for Paris and Air France. So you could do that. I also made a graphic within my Flying Blue video if you want to check that out, that has all those airports listed out that you could just screenshot from there. But to look for availability, you can either go to klm.com or airfrance.us. I like klm.com just because it's fewer letters. Now you'll need to log in to search for award availability and then select book with miles here. And now I searched a bunch of airports for you already, and like I said, there was a lot of availability in Chicago. Now the easiest way to look for availability is just put in your information, but leave the departure date blank. So if there's something here, just hit this X and it will delete that. And then you'll hit search flights. And then once you do that, it'll bring up this award calendar, and you know we love a good award calendar. So you can simply scroll through and look at the different dates available. And so this is from Manila to Chicago, and like I said, you've got a lot of different months with this 95,000 mile availability. Simply click on one of these. Sometimes you'll have to scroll down to see what it was actually advertising. Like I said, there is a dynamic pricing component, so there's 533,000 miles for the same flight, but you also see this 95,000 mile fare. So just something to be aware of is that Air France and KLM, sometimes they have long layovers. It says 31 hours. This is travel time, so hover over and you can see that there's a 7-hour layover in Paris. So that is something that you kind of have to judge or figure out there. There is a way to do a stopover in Paris or Amsterdam if you wanted to try that for size. You'll just need to find the Saver Award availability for both segments of your flight and call them over the phone and see if they can book that for you for free. Now Flying Blue is searchable on Seats.Aero. However, again, they don't really pick up on connecting flights, so there's nothing whenever you type in MNL whenever you're trying to look for flights to the Philippines. So not very useful in this instance. However, they are searchable on Points, which kind of leads me to our next segment. So how do you find award availability for flights over to the Philippines with all of these different award partners? Well, most regular people have a set date range as far as when they're able to travel. And so this kind of helps confine the search a lot, which can be helpful because it could be pretty overwhelming real quick. And now I use Points, which is a free tool to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Because of all the partners that we talked about, Points searches almost all of them. The only 4 that they don't is ANA, Cathay Pacific, Singapore Airlines, and Qatar Airways. So generally what I'll do is I'll use Points to search for all those different partners that we talked about. And if I don't find anything worthwhile from those programs, I'll search those other 4 airlines individually because the prices on those airlines are typically a bit higher in the 100K range anyways. And then of course, if there was a transfer bonus that I was eyeing and working on, then I would probably go check that airline specifically as well. So here's how I would use Points. First, you have to create a free account and log in, of course. And then if you go to this menu, I like to start off with the Daydream Explorer. Now this is just to start off and try to see if there's any low-hanging fruit. Now I say that because the Daydream Explorer isn't an active real-time search. It searches cached results or previous results that other people searched or a bunch of routes that Points tracks individually. So this is especially nice to use because you could just put in United States excluding Hawaii to search all the different major airports, and you could type in the Philippines because sometimes there is one of the regional airports within the Philippines that you can just connect directly to as well. And then the Daydream Explorer lets you search 2 months at a time. So you can search 60 days and just hit yeah. And so there's an example flight to Cebu in the Philippines. But what you want to do is use these filters here. So you can filter for just business class. And then it shows American Airlines as the cheapest flight possible. But let's say you don't have American Airlines and you want to see what else is out there. You can unfilter that. Or if you want Capital One and American Airlines miles, you can just add American Airlines here. You can filter for stops and all these other different filters as well. So as you can see, there's already results like from Air Canada that we discussed for just 75,000 miles or 87,500 miles. And now do note that it does say when it was updated. So this availability was found a day ago. Some of these were 4 days ago. And then if you didn't find what you're looking for, you could just hit next 59 days here, and then it'll pull up the next results, and again, just within seconds. So let's say you find something that you're interested in, like this Flying Blue option. You can select here, and then it will give you the option to do a real-time search. So then it'll pull up this screen and it's going to run a real-time search using its program, which is kind of the main function of Points Yet. It does real-time searches with all those programs I showed you earlier, and it will check to see if that award flight is still available. I will say my screen is going to show 8 days at a time because I have the Points Yet premium version. Otherwise, it's only going to show 4 days if you have the free version. If you're interested in premium, it's really nice to have if you do a lot of award searches. I'll have an affiliate link down in the description. Great way to support the channel. Thank you in advance. So you can see that same pricing we talked about. You can hit view deal and then yeah, let's go, and it will take you to Flying Blue directly just so you can triple check to make sure that award space is there. You always want to triple check the actual website before transferring any points and making an award reservation. Sometimes it could just take you to this page and then you'll just have to hit search again, etc. Or you can click one of these buttons and it will send you to the bank page so you can transfer your points from there as well. So if the Daydream Explorer didn't find anything that I was interested in, I would typically still do one of these manual searches and go through the full date range that I was interested in just to make sure I wasn't missing anything that sounded really good. And on this main search, you can add the number of passengers and some other information here that you're not able to do from the Daydream Explorer. And so if I wanted to search the rest of February, you have this next 8 days or next 4 days for you, and that would just take you to the next screen and it would run that search again over 15-20 seconds. And so this could be a bit tedious, but it's something to do while you're looking at a TV show or something like that. And then again, if I don't find what I'm looking for, then I would search those other 4 programs that I mentioned to see if there's any availability there if I had those types of points to use. And so that's the general process. It may change depending on extraneous factors, and it's not perfect because award search tools, Points Yet included, they have their issues and they can have different errors going on. I talk about all those different issues and the errors that you need to be aware of in this video linked up above if you want to check that out. But again, thank you for coming along for this ride of a video. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the channel. I know you're going to love what you find, and sign up for my newsletter and we'll chat every Friday. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.